Hey, good morning, you guys. We have some breaking news in financial markets. Not really news for a lot of us that follow this kind of stuff, but still massive news hitting the public. We have the FinCEN files. BuzzFeed News released these files. They've been building up these documents for quite some time. And basically what it is the major banks, if they have suspicious activity, suspecting money laundering or something like that, or moving around potential illegal funds, they have to report it to the government. And that basically wipes their hands clean of any liability. So they've been doing that, but governments have been ignoring it. And basically, these files were just released implicating many of these major banks. So we have HSBC Hong Kong, we have Deutsche Bank, we have JP Morgan, all the usual suspects involved in this. And basically, they have been implicated in moving around over $2 trillion over the last 2 decades for criminal organizations, the kleptocrats, the drug kingpins. They've been implicated in child trafficking, child exploitation, all of this. So this is just, like I said, it's not news to those of us that follow these criminals and what they do, but at the same time, we've never had files like this leaked to the public. So it's pretty big news, and it just goes to show how these guys are actual full-on criminals. The government's 100% involved. They've known about this. They've done nothing. They've allowed these banks to launder this money for these criminal organizations, for terrorist organizations, and they've done nothing about it. They basically allow these people to form numbered corporations so that they can't tell who's behind it, and then they move around all the money for these drug kingpins and whatnot, and they wipe it clean and they put it into legit companies that sell us our food and offer us our services and stuff like that. So while you and I are getting slapped with possession charges and thrown in jail for minor offenses, these guys are moving around trillions of dollars, and not even, I bet a single banker won't even go to jail. There won't be a single government official that will go to jail. At the most, they'll face a fine, but they just print the money anyways, so it's not a big deal for them to pay these fines. So it just really goes to show the double standard. It goes to show the level of corruption in our governments, in our banks, how they're all intertwined, and how they are the true criminals. They are the true terrorist organizations, the drug cartels, everything. These are the people that are running our country, running our banks, making our laws, throwing us in jail and punishing us for different things, like not making our debt payments and all this. Well, meanwhile, the governments are in massive amounts of debt. It doesn't really matter to them. They just print the money so they can get away with whatever they want. They can commit just astronomical crimes against humanity, like I said, child trafficking, child exploitation, just nasty stuff, and they get away with it. A little slap on the wrist, no one goes to jail, and then yet you and I will go to jail for just the tiniest of crimes. So it just makes me insane. I've been trying to tell people about this for some time, and a lot of people find it hard to believe that this level of corruption actually exists. People don't, I think more and more people are waking up that this is actually the case. Just a few years ago, very few people believed me that these guys were all in cahoots, and that basically the banks and the governments were involved in this level of criminal activity and stuff. But now it's all coming to light, and of course it's actually hard to find the news. I searched on Google, I searched for the news, and it doesn't really come up unless you know what you're looking for, you know what words to put in, and then you also have to go into the filters and put it as, news within the last day or whatever. So they really do a great job at sweeping this kind of stuff under the rug. Props to BuzzFeed for building up this case and releasing these files. 2,100 documents showing the level of corruption and showing of how the government was involved and basically ignoring the banks, and how the banks basically, they file these things showing that, yeah, they think they're a little bit suspicious of money laundering, but that's it. It just, that they're legally required to do that, so they do it, and then it wipes their hands clean of liability, and then they continue to move the money. So they were moving money around for organizations that were already under investigation for high level fraud. and they didn't stop moving the money. So if you look at you and I, if we're suspected of maybe even not paying our tax, let alone fraud or crime, we maybe were just late on our taxes, they'll come in and freeze your entire bank account, and they won't allow you to move any money around. And that's, you don't even have to have a lot of money. They have that kind of power, but yet they're moving around just millions and billions and trillions of dollars for these high-level corrupt organizations, criminals, child traffickers, and all this, and they know that these people are involved in high-level crimes, and yet they continue to move their money around and launder the money. So they're wiping it clean. They move it around a bunch. They put it into other companies so that they basically clean the money and make it legit. And then you and I are stuck hustling, trying to work our day job, getting taxed at 50% and getting, punished for tiny little infractions like not wearing your seatbelt, stuff like that, thrown in jail for not wearing a mask. And then these guys can commit high-level crime and just get a little slap on the wrist, a little fine that they basically just print the money for and pay off the fine, and then continue to allow this kind of stuff to happen. So it's just a wild double standard. I hope there comes a day where these people are actually punished and tried for their crimes, and that we can level the playing fields. This is why I'm such a big advocate of stopping to use their currency. By using these governments' currencies, we are enabling this high-level crime to occur. These governments aren't, they're not legit. They're high-level crime lords. They're basically organized crime. They're gangsters, and they're doing nothing except stealing our wealth and funding terrorism, child trafficking, child exploitation, all this kind of stuff. So it's up to us to stop using their currency. We have to stop supporting these terrorist organizations, these drug lords, these criminals. And one way to do that is to stop using their currency and allowing these banks to continue this kind of double standard and these crimes against humanity per se. So just unbelievable. It's nice to see some of this stuff finally coming to light, and the main news channels are being forced to cover it finally. So props to BuzzFeed, like I said, for building up these files and releasing them. That takes a lot of courage in this day and age, and just really happy to see. So yeah, thank you for putting that stuff out there. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. And like I said, continue to get out of these currencies, because they are going into the ground. And one thing I wanted to mention, if you look at HSBC's chart, you can basically see they've hit a 20-year low or 25-year low in their stock price. And the interesting thing is, it only went down, I think, 6 to 8% today on the news that they were involved in all this money laundering. But if you look at the chart, the stock has been selling off for some time. So we had the crash back in March. It crashed quite a bit there, and it never rebounded like a lot of the other banks. So what that tells me is the people on the inside of this, they probably knew this stuff was coming to light, and it's a big exit strategy. So they kind of have these, they're almost like scapegoats. So if we look at like Deutsche Bank and HSBC, this is a way they basically get away with whatever they want. They can commit all this crime with these big corporate banks, and then they know this is coming beforehand, so they start selling off the stock to the public. They start exiting the corporation, and then the news comes out, and then it plummets even more, and they've already sold off all their shares. So it's just absurd how this stuff this happens. They're manipulating markets with the money. They're doing all kinds of stuff that you and I would go to prison for life for, but they of course only get a slap on the wrist, a little fine that they, like I said, they just print the money and pay off the fine, so it's not a big deal for them. So basically get out of jail free whenever they want card, and then you and I are of course stuck with all these laws where we are punished. We're threatened with the threat of violence. They'll shoot you, they'll beat you up, they'll throw you in prison, they'll take you away from your kids, all this stuff. So of course we have just crazy penalties to pay if we break the laws, but then these guys basically get out of jail free. So absolutely absurd. I hope more and more of this stuff starts coming to light and people start waking up, and that hopefully the tables turn here one day and we can get rid of a lot of this deep level corruption and bring back like true democracy, true free market capitalism back into the system, and we can create a system where it's more equal and more of us can create prosperity and abundance for us, and that it's not such a skewed system where the elites basically steal all our wealth and live these luxurious lives while we're all enslaved to their debt money. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I talk about this kind of stuff on the regular. I teach about Bitcoin, I teach about gold and silver, currencies, financial markets, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.